Hello everybody, this is David Velasquez, and in this video I'm going to demonstrate how to create a Cassandra database within the DataStax Astra platform, as well as how to connect to that database with Java within the Eclipse IDE. So to start off, we would create an account here in DataStax Astra. Once that's done, you would click on Create Database. You would input database name as well as a key space. From there, the next step is to select a provider and region. So in my case, the best was choosing Google Cloud and within this city within South Carolina. Once you choose that, you click here to create database, and then you go back to the dashboard. Once you're back here, you're going to go to the Connect tab. And so here's where we're going to start setting it up, and we're going to select our drivers among some other things. So there are many drivers to select from, but in this assignment we're using Java, so we would select Java. From there, we would download the bundle, and this bundle has files that are necessary to make the connection between Astra and Java. From here, we would download and install Maven in order to have the Maven dependencies. And then finally, we would request an application token. Right? And then we would select this as an administrator user. These are the permissions that we would have as an admin user. And once we click here to generate token, what we're going to get is, just to show you an example of mine, we're going to get a set of numbers, right? And so this client ID and this secret, these numbers are going to be essential to put within the Java code to enable the connection between Java and the database. Okay, and then once the prerequisites are done, everything's downloaded, and you have the tokens. And so the next step from here would be to go to the Eclipse IDE and to start inputting the code to make the connection with the Cassandra database. And so to start off here, we have our pom.xml file, and here we have all the code that has to do with the dependencies of Maven, helping us connect to the database. From here, we go to the registration details, and this is where we start setting up the classes. We have 4 attributes for the table that we're going to create. We have student ID, student name, class name, and student age. And in here, as you see, we have all the getters and setters, which is what's going to allow us to write the queries. From then on, we go to the registration functions. And so here is where we actually have the queries that we're going to end up writing. And we're going to see the output within the DataStax Astra database. And so I have a couple of things here. Create table command, how insert data into that table, as well as to drop that table. And then finally, we have the Cassandra connection. So this code here is really what creates the link between this Java application and the Cassandra database. And so these figures here are really important in these 2 lines. So here with the secure connection bundle, this is actually the bundle download. So we had to create the directory so that the system can find where it is and use those files. And then from here, in terms of the credentials, this is where we use these numbers. So the client ID would go right here between these quotes, and then the secret would go within these quotes all the way to the end, as well as the key space, which I named assignment 1 key space, would go here. And so this is what makes the connection to the Cassandra database. And then here are the registration functions, or the 3 queries that are being written, and which exist here. And so just to demonstrate, we'll try out the first one. And so we would, the first step would be to actually create a database. And so we would run this code right here, which is this line of code right here. And so we'd run it as a Java application. And so this port number here is telling us that the connection was actually made with DataStax Astra and that the query did run successfully. And so just to run the test, we would come back to DataStax, come here to CQL console. Okay, and so here we would run a test, use assignment 1 key space. And so this tells us if this key space actually exists. And so it does, because here we have the assignment 1 key space directory, which means that it exists within the data stacks. And then we could also run another test as the following. Right, so this tells us that the actual database structure was created. As we see, we have student ID, class name, student age, and student name, the 4 attributes, but there's no data in them. And so that's step number 2. Okay, so then the second step would be to actually create some or import some values into that data, that table structure. And so we would close this guy out. Okay, so we close the other commands out and we'll be running this one, the insert into registration right here. And so that corresponds to this line command right here. And so we can just run this at the Java application. And so we can see that the port connection was made and it did run successfully. So again, we could come back here and we can run the same command, select all from registration database, and boom, we can see that the data was in fact imported. We have a student ID, a class name philosophy, and the student name was Immanuel Kant at age 28. And so for the final demonstration, I will show how to drop the table. And so let's do this. And stop. Now we are isolating this drop table command right here, as well as isolating this command. And so now if we run this, we see that the port connection was made. However, there should be some errors because it's not finding the database. And so if we go back here and run the final test, we are going to select off from the registration database, just like we did above. However, now DataStax cannot find this because we dropped it. It doesn't exist. Okay, so I hope this was useful. This was a quick little tutorial on how to create a database in DataStax Astra, as well as how to set up the code in Java to make a connection with this Cassandra database and run queries. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.